Hello, YouTubers. This is Joe Kersey here on September 2nd again at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. This time, I'm laughing because I'm trying to think about how I can sort of do a visual image of how I just felt here about an hour, well, not quite an hour ago, talking to my ex-wife. Now, God bless my ex-wife. I mean, she's a good soul. I mean, she's the mother of my son, she's the grandmother of my grandson. You know, it was an ill-advised Sally, you know, back in my very early 20s. Trying to conform to the norm. And we've remained friends. You know, yeah, well, yes, friends, sure. Certainly, what passes for friends nowadays. Uh, but this was an individual who, at one point, had a great deal to say about uh, critical thought, in the sense of critical thought, in the sense that you take ideas and then you evaluate those ideas against evidence, and then you decide one way or the other based on evidence. But now, what has what has come to be seen as critical thought is, how do you feel or think? Well, if your thinking is based on critical thought, that's fine. But how do you feel? Well, there's a lot of things you might feel one way or the other about, but contradict what your critical mind says. So today, much against my better judgment, I called her, and she's fine, and we did some FaceTime stuff, with the Apple. She's got an Apple machine, I've got an Apple machine, and of course, every time we connect with the Apple machine, see, I've driven Paul over to have to get an extra beer here. See, he's had to, oh no, he's on his way out. He's going to flee the kingdom here on this. Well, I don't blame him. I'll tell you. On the other hand, some things need to be said. So, you know, now I'm sure that there are a lot of intellectually dishonest. Now, see, here's the phrase: intellectually dishonest, argumentative techniques that, and it's not just a woman that uses it. Oh, I'm sure there are probably a few men, couple, three, around the world that are intellectually dishonest in how they quote, discuss, unquote, issues with their combative interlocutor. But, in my experience, this technique is used primarily by the female of the species, and particularly used when they are discussing something with a person that they either A, care about, or B, thought they cared about, or C, actually had cared about, but D, no longer care about. I'm sure there's an E. But, that's one of those K questions. E, none of the above. In exams. The big board exams where they have all these very complex. E, none of the above. So essentially, you're getting about 7 or 8 questions in one question. So the discussion today started out, as it often does, usually does, very, very congenially. And I'm thinking, well, this particular version of this individual's home today. So good. Well, you gotta. I don't like to watch TV, so I like to talk to people that I know. So we get on FaceTime. We're talking, of course. See, I bring it on myself. I mean, it's like a moth to the flame. I bring it on myself. I try to talk about things that I know she'll be interested in. See, well, and also things that I know that I'll be interested in. Now, a long time ago, a fellow told me, and I heard this, I listened to this, I registered it. But I thought, well, all right. This guy says to me, he says, never talk to a woman that you care about. Notice, never talk to a woman you care about. Not like a woman you don't care about or just some random one. Never talk to a woman you care about. This goes for gays and straights both, by the way, guys. Never talk to, this is what this guy was saying. I'll give you my final opinion on that at some point. Never talk to a woman you care about anything that you yourself care about. Just don't do it. In fact, Kingsley Amis, in one of his novels, there's a great line. He says, I realized I had made the first mistake in talking to a woman. I had talked to her about something I deeply cared about. Well, that sort of sets the stage for the following. Quite often, when an individual, basically a man, talks to a woman about something that he cares about, and that his interlocutor, i.e., a woman, professes to care about and be interested in. Well, of course, at the first sign of non-congruence, of attitudes or ideas or evaluations, well then, and of course it generally always starts off with like, well, then you, meaning, and then there's this great general expansion and exaggeration of the most offbeat point that conceivably could have been contained in your argument. And when I say argument, I mean a series of ideas meant to propound a point, not argument in the sense of, oh, you asshole. Argument, discussion, It's like debate, reasoned discussion. So, the general initial phrase is, there are two fallacies, debate fallacies, argumentative fallacies that are favorites. One is, of course, the reductio ad absurdem, taken to even beyond the reductio ad absurdum. Well, then, so for example, if you said something along the lines of, well, I really don't see how far we can carry on some of these I don't know, insert favorite idea here, bombing campaigns, green gardening campaigns, bike path campaigns. I don't see how much further we can carry these things on, Oh, well. And it's always like, oh, well. And it always starts off that way. Well, then you would say, eliminate all this. Let's just have everybody, live on asphalt. Oh, no, I'm not saying that. See, I mean, you're not. There's always this then counter assertion that has nothing to do with what you said. Okay, and then the other thing, of course, then the second technique is uh, uh, to you know to say that. That somehow there's some sort of personal attack going on. Oh, it was like you don't. Well, no. So it's like my hands. I'm going to try to imitate a salmon with my hands. It's like remember the fish. Remember the pictures of the fish ladders and Encyclopedia Britannica films when you were growing up. Well, anybody under the age of 50 isn't going to remember that. But for those of you who might be over the age of 50 or in their early mid 40s, might remember. Here's the salmon sort of. I mean, so much of my life is often, well, not now, thank God, but was felt to be that of a salmon. Yeah, it's sad. So we were talking. I mean, I made the mistake of calling. I know it's my fault. It's my fault. And so, the precipitating event today was. I mean, I described to her the things that are in my previous 2 videos, or 3 videos. Okay, so, I mean, you can access those very easily. So I tried to describe those to her. Well, see that means that I, a mere Protestant, even though I go to a Protestant church, by the way, I, a mere Protestant, a non-priest, a non-clergy individual, a person who does not have a degree in divinity, even though I've probably read just about as much stuff or more than some of these guys. Now, I admit, I don't have the formal language training, although I can kind of work my way around Greek. I can't do anything but Hebrew, so I admit that I can't do much of it. But I can sort of work my way around Greek if I have to. I certainly can work my way around Latin. Well, so, you don't have a degree. Well, of course I don't have a degree. I mean, first of all, I've got other things to do with my life. When the dogs are alive, be with my dog. Maybe that'll happen here again this fall. We'll see. Try to keep from falling off things. So there's a lot of things I try to do that. So there. So you're saying that you just don't give a damn? Well, no, I'm not saying I don't give a damn. I mean, see, that's the kind of argument. I mean, quote argument, unquote, not true argument in the sense of advancing point of view or a series of ideas. It's like. So she was getting on a roll, which I was kind of surprised. I didn't think she would be getting into a role. She acts. Sometimes you can tell when she is going to and isn't going to. But today she got into a role. So just to head off unpleasantness, I just clicked off, and end call on the FaceTime. Now, I'm just an asshole, aren't I? Well, on that note, bye-bye, YouTubers. it's very womanly of me to put something up there like this. But on the other hand, I mean, it's the truth, isn't it? It's the truth. So, all righty. Bye bye. Bye bye.